Good day everyone. My name is Vanessa Mabayaw.
I am Vladimir Magkanam.
I'm Chichi Loren.
My name is Meros P. Makahibag.
I'm Christina Loren from BSIT 3A.
And we are the Group 2 representative. And for today's video, we are going to discuss with you the 7 domain of a typical IT infrastructure. The 7 domain of a typical IT infrastructure, they are as follows. The user domain, workstation domain, LAN domain, LAN-to-WAN domain, remote access domain, WAN domain, and system application domain. Each of these domains is viewed as portals for attackers if countermeasures are missing or failing. It is very imperative for businesses to protect each of these 7 domains. It only takes one unprotected domain for an attacker to gain access private data. So, let's proceed. User domain. The user domain is where the acceptable use policy or AUP is located, which outlines the rules and guidelines for how employees are allowed to use organization-owned IT assets. Adherence to the AUP is critical for maintaining the security and integrity of an organization's computing environment, and violation of the AUP can result in serious consequence for employees. This is the first layer of defense in a layered security strategy. User domain rules, responsibilities, and accountability. So here's an overview of what should go on in the user domain. Rules and tasks. Users can access system, application, and data depending upon their defined access rights. Employees must conform to the staff manual and policy. So, in an organization, users are granted access to various system, application, and data based on their defined access rights. These access rights are typically determined by the employee's job responsibilities and are designed to give them access to only the information and resources necessary to perform their job functions. However, with access comes responsibilities. Employees must conform to the staff manual and policies, which outline the rules and guidelines for how they should use organize on IT assets. This includes the following best practice for data security, such as using strong password, keeping software up to date, and avoiding suspicious links or downloads. Next is responsibilities. Employees are responsible for their use of IT assets. New legislation means that for most organizations, it's a best practice to introduce an AUP. Organizations may require staff, contractors, or other third parties to sign an agreement to keep information confidential. Um, by introducing an EUP, organization can promote good cybersecurity practices and mitigate the risk of data breaches, cyber attacks, and other IT-related incidents. In addition, an EUP can help organizations to comply with legal and regulatory requirements such as data protection and privacy laws. Next is the accountability. Typically, an organization human resources department is accountable for implementing proper employee background check. This should be performed for individuals who will be accessing sensitive data. So, the human resources or HR departments are often responsible for for implementing and managing employee background check to ensure that individuals who will be accessing sensitive data or working in position of trust and responsibility are qualified and trustworthy. HR department are accountable for ensuring that proper screening and background check processes are in place and followed consistency across the organization. This check may include verifying education and employment history, criminal background check, and reference check, among others. It's important for organization to prioritize accountability in their hiring and screening process to mitigate the risk of potential security breaches or unethical behavior by employees. These are the risks, threats, vulnerabilities commonly found in the user domains. Um, the first is an unauthorized access. This is the risk, threats, or vulnerability, the unauthorized access. The mitigation of this is the users must be made aware of phishing emails, free texting or cones, keyboard loggers, and perpetrators impersonating an IT or delivery person in an attempt to obtain logon ID and password credential. And second is lack of user awareness. Uh, the mitigation of this, uh, conduct security awareness training, display security awareness posters, insert reminders in the banner greetings, and send email reminders to employees. And the third is the security apathy towards policies. The mitigation of this, conduct annual security awareness training, implement acceptable use policy, update staff manual and handbook, discuss during the performance reviews. And next, security policy violation. Place employee on probation, review EUP and employee manual, discuss during the performance review. Next, the user insertion of CDs and USB drives with personal photos, music, and videos. The mitigation of this, you must disable internal CD drives and USB ports, enable automatic antivirus, scan for inserted media drives files, and email attachments. An antivirus scanning system examines all new files on your computer's hard drive for viruses. Set up antivirus scanning for emails with attachment. Let's proceed. Next is the user download of photos, music, and videos. The mitigation of this, enable content filtering and antivirus scanning for email attachment. Content filtering network devices are configured to permit or deny specific domain names in accordance with EUP definitions. And next, user destruction of systems, application, or data. The mitigation of this is restrict users' access to only those system, application, and data needed to perform their jobs. Minimize write or delete permissions to the data owner only. And next, attacks on the organization or acts of sabotage by disgruntled employees. The mitigation of this, track and monitor abnormal employee behavior, erratic job performance, and use of IT infrastructure during off hours, begin IT access control lockout procedure based on EUP monitoring and compliance. The next is the employee romance gone bad. So the mitigation of this track and monitor abnormal employee behavior and use of IT infrastructure during off hours. Begin IT access control lockout procedure based on EUP monitoring and compliance. So the last one, um, employee blackmail or extortion. The mitigation of this is track and monitor abnormal employee behavior and use of IT infrastructure during off hours. Enable intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system. IDS or IPS security appliances examine the IP data streams for inbound and outbound traffic. Alarms and alert program within an IDS or IPS help identify abnormal traffic and can block IP traffic as per policy definition. Workstation domain. A workstation domain can be a desktop computer, a laptop computer, a special purpose terminal, or any other device that connects to your network. Workstation computers are generally thin clients or thick clients. A workstation is a type of a computer that is used for a business or professional work, typically in a office or other work environment. It can be a desktop computer, a laptop computer, a special purpose terminal, and any other devices that connects to a network. Um, there are two main types of workstation client, the thin clients and thick clients. Thin client is software or an actual computer with no hard drive that runs on a network and relies on a server to provide application data and all processing. A thick client is more fully featured hardware that contains a hard drive and application and processes data locally, going to the server mainly for file storage. The thin clients are devices that rely on a centralized server to perform most of the processing and storage tasks, while the thick clients are more powerful devices that can perform most tasks locally. Thin clients are often used in environments where security is a major concern, while the thick clients are more common in environments where performance and flexibility are more important. So, this is the workstation domain rules, responsibilities, and accountabilities. Accountability. First, an overview of what should go on in the workstation. The first is the rules and tasks. And an organization staff should have the access necessary to be productive. Tasks include configuring hardware, hardening systems, and verifying antivirus files. Hardening a system is the process of ensuring that controls are in a place to handle any known threats. Hardening activities include ensuring that all computers have latest software revision, security patches, and system configuration. So, in order for an organization staff in order for an organization staff to perform their job duties effectively, they require access to various resources, including hardware, software, and network resources. This includes configuring hardware such as setting up computers and other devices, as well as installing necessary software. One of the most important aspects of maintaining a secure computing environment is hardening the system. Hardening refers to the process of ensuring that proper security controls are in the place to handle any known threats. These include making sure that all computers have the latest software updates and security patches installed, as well as proper system configuration. By hardening systems, organization can reduce the likelihood of security breaches and minimize the potential damage if a breach were to occur. Accountability. An organization IT desktop manager is typically accountable for allowing employees the the greatest use of the workstation domain. The director of IT security is generally in charge of ensuring that the workstation domain conforms to policy. So the IT manager is responsible for providing the greatest use of the workstation domain for employees, while the director of IT security is responsible for ensuring that the workstation domain adheres to established policies and guidelines. Both rules are critical for maintaining the productivity and security of an organization's computing environment. So, let's proceed. These are the risk, threats, vulnerabilities commonly found in the workstation domain. So, the first is the unauthorized access to workstation. The mitigation of this is enable password protection on workstation for access, enable auto screen lockout for inactive times, disable system admin rights for users. And the second is the unauthorized access to systems, applications, and data. The mitigation of this is define strict access control policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Implement a second level of or layer of authentication to application that contains sensitive data. For example, the two-step authentication like mga verification code or something. The third is the desktop or laptop computer operating system software vulnerabilities. The mitigation of this is define a workstation operating system vulnerability window policy and standard. The vulnerability window is the gap in the time of workstation is exposed to non-vulnerability until patch. Perform frequent vulnerability assessment scans as part of ongoing security operation. Next is the desktop or laptop application software vulnerabilities and software patch updates. The mitigation of this is define a workstation application software vulnerabilities window policy, update application software and security patches according to defined policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. So, the next is the infection of a user's workstation or laptop computer by viruses, malicious code, or malware. The mitigation of this is use Windows Workstation antivirus and malicious code policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Enable an automated antivirus protection solution that scans, update individual workstation with proper protection. The next is the user insertion of CDs, digital video discs, DVDs, or universal serial bus, the USB, thumb drives into the organization computers. The mitigation of this is deactive all CD, DVD, and USB ports, enable automatic antivirus scans for inserted CDs, DVDs, and USB thumb drives that have files. So the next is the user downloads of photos, music, or videos via the internet. Use content filtering and antivirus scanning at the internet entry and exit. Enable workstation auto scans for all new files and automatic file quarantine for unknown file types. The next is the user violation of EUP, which creates security risk for the organization's IT infrastructure. So the mitigation of this, the mandate annual security awareness training for all employees, set up security awareness campaigns and programs throughout the year. And the last one, employees and users want to use their own smartphone or tablets, driving the need to support bring your own device or BYOD. The mitigation of this is the develop a BYOD policy and procedure that allows the employee to use their personal smartphones or mobile devices. BYOD policies and procedures typically permit the organization to data wipe the user's smartphone or mobile device if it is lost or the employee is terminated. Let's proceed to the next reporter.
And now I would like to discuss about land domain. Land domain. The land domain refers to the organization local area network infrastructure. A LAN allows two or more computers to connect within a small physical area. The small area can be a home, office, or group of buildings. LAN domain contains all of the workstation, hubs, switches, and routers. The LAN is trusted zone. Risk. A worm can spread through the LAN and infect all computers in it. LAN service OS can have a known software vulnerability. An authorized user can access the organization workstation in a LAN. Weak password can be cracked. Networking in home office, networking in school, laboratory, university campus, networking between two computers. Authorized access to LAN. Make sure wiring closest data centers and computer rooms are secure. Do not allow anyone access without proper ID. Authorized access to system application and data. Define strict access control policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Implement a second-level identity check to gain access to sensitive system, application, and data. Restrict users from access to LAN folders and read, write, delete. Privilege on specific documents as needed. LAN server operating system software vulnerabilities. Define server, desktop, laptop vulnerability, window policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Conduct periodic LAN domain vulnerability assessment to find software gaps. A vulnerability assessment is a software review that identifies bugs and errors in software. These bugs and errors go away when you upload software patches and fix. LAN server application software vulnerabilities and software patch updates. Define a strict software vulnerability window policy requiring quick software patching. Authorized access by rogue user on WLAN. Use WLAN network keys that require a password for wireless access. Turn off broadcasting on WAPs. Require second-level authentication prior to granting WLAN access. Compromised confidentiality of data transmission via WLAN. Implement encryption between workstation and WAP to maintain confidentiality. LAN servers with different hardware, operating system, and software make them difficult to manage and troubleshoot. Implement LAN server and configuration standards, procedures, and guidelines.
I will be discussing the LAN to WAN domain. So first, let us discuss the WAN and the LAN. LAN, also known as Local Area Network, is a network that connects devices within a small geographical area, such as building or campus. LAN are typically owned and managed by a single organization, and the devices connected to the network can communicate with each other at higher speeds. LAN are commonly used for file sharing, printing, and internal communication. WAN, or Wide Area Network, on the other hand, connect devices across a larger geographic area, such as multiple buildings, cities, or even countries. WAN are typically owned and managed by multiple organizations, and they rely on public infrastructure like the internet to connect devices. WAN allow for communication between devices across long distances and are commonly used for remote access, video conferencing, and accessing cloud-based services. The LAN to WAN domain is the point where the local network infrastructure connects to the internet, in this case the WAN, which is an open, public, and easily accessible network. Connecting to the internet is like rolling the red carpet for bad guys. This means that anyone with an internet connection can potentially access the devices and resources connected to the LAN through the WAN link. Furthermore, most internet traffic is transmitted in clear text format, which means that the data being transmitted can be intercepted and read by anyone who has access to the network. This includes sensitive information such as login credentials, financial data, personal information, and other confidential data that should remain private. Therefore, connecting to the internet exposes the network to a wide range of security risks and threats. Network applications use two common transport protocols, which are the TCP, or Transmission Control Protocol, and the UDP, the User Datagram Protocol. TCP is connection-oriented. Once a connection has been established, data can be transmitted in two directions, while the UDP is connection-less Internet Protocol, wherein error and recovery services are not required. Both TCP and UDP use port numbers to identify the application or function. These port numbers function like channels on a TV, dictating which station you are watching. So these are some common examples of TCP and UDP port numbers. So we have port 80, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, is the communication protocol between web browsers and websites with data in clear text. Port 80, File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, is a protocol for performing file transfers. FTP uses TCP as a connection-oriented data transmission but in clear text, including the password. Connection-oriented means individual packets are numbered and acknowledged as being received to increase integrity of the file transfer. The Port 69, the Trivial File Transfer Protocol, or TFTP. TFTP is a protocol for performing file transfers. TFTP utilizes UDP as a connectionless data transmission but in clear text. This is used for small and quick file transfers, given that it does not guarantee individual packet delivery. We have the Port 23, the Terminal Network, or Telnet, is a network protocol for performing remote terminal access to another device. Telnet uses TCP and sends data in clear text. A complete list of well-known port numbers from 0 to 1023 is maintained by IANA. IANA stands for the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. It is a department of the Internet Corporation for assigned names and numbers, responsible for managing and coordinating various Internet-related identifiers such as domain names, IP addresses, protocol parameters, and port numbers. The IANA functions involve allocating unique identifiers and managing the DNS root zone, which includes assigning top-level domain names, such as .com, .org, .net, etc., and managing the root DNS servers that translate domain names into IP addresses. So let's proceed to roles, responsibilities, and accountability. Roles and tasks. The LAN-to-WAN domain is a critical component of an IT infrastructure that requires careful attention to ensure optimal security and accessibility. This domain includes physical and logical components, making it one of the most complex areas to execute. To maintain security, it is important to design and configure security appliances to adhere policy definitions while giving users as much access as possible. This requires managing physical components to provide easy access to the service and configuring logical components to ensure data integrity, confidentiality, and availability. All security appliances in this domain must be configured to comply with policy definitions, including the following. First, IP routers. An IP router is a network device used to transfer IP packets to and from the Internet or WAN. Path determination decisions forward IP packets. Configuration tasks include IP routing and access control lists, or ACLs. IP stateful firewalls is a security appliance used to filter inbound IP packets based on various ACL definitions configured for IP, TCP, and UDP packet headers. A stateful firewall can examine IP, TCP, or UDP packet headers for filtering. We have the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, is a LAN segment in the LAN-to-WAN domain that acts as buffer zone to inbound and outbound IP traffic. External servers such as web servers, proxy servers, and email servers can be placed here for greater isolation and screening of IP traffic. IDS, or Intrusion Detection System. An IDS security appliance examines IP data streams for common attack and malicious intent patterns. IDS are passive, going only so far as to trigger an alarm, but they will not actively block traffic. The Intrusion Prevention System, or IPS, does the same thing as IDS, but can block IP data streams identified as malicious. IPS can end the actual communication session, filter by source IP addresses, and block access to the targeted host. Proxy servers. A proxy server acts as a middleman between a workstation and the external target. Traffic goes to the intermediary server that is acting as a proxy. Data can be analyzed and properly screened before they are relayed into IT infrastructure by what are called proxy firewalls or application gateway firewalls. Web content filter. This security appliance can prevent content from entering an IT infrastructure based on filtering domain names or of keywords within domain names. Security information and event management monitors IT assets to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The LAN-to-WAN domain responsibilities. The Network Security Group has a critical responsibility to ensure the security, integrity, and availability of LAN-to-WAN domain, which includes both physical components and logical elements. This group is tasked with applying the defined security controls, policies, and procedures to protect the network from cyber threats and unauthorized access. Some of the key responsibilities of the Network Security Group include configuring and maintaining security appliances, implementing access controls, monitoring network traffic, conducting security audits, and responding to security incidents. These tasks require a high level of expertise and knowledge of security best practices as well as understanding of the specific requirements and risks associated with the LAN-to-WAN domain. Accountability. The WAN Network Manager plays a crucial role in managing the LAN-to-WAN domain within an organization. This involves ensuring that the physical and logical components of the network are configured and maintained according to established security policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. While the WAN Network Manager is responsible for the day-to-day management of the LAN-to-WAN domain, it is the Director of IT Security who ensures that these policies and procedures are in place and are being followed. The IT Security Director is responsible for developing and enforcing security policies that are designed to protect the organization, information assets, and ensure compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. Effective management of the LAN-to-WAN domain requires coordinated effort between the WAN Network Manager and the IT Security Director. This includes regular communication and collaboration to ensure that the security policies are up to date and effective in mitigating the latest threats and vulnerabilities. So these are the risks, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigation plan for LAN-to-WAN domain. We have here an authorized network probing and port scanning. So to mitigate this risk or threat, disable ping, probing, and port scanning on all exterior IP devices within the LAN-to-WAN domain. Ping uses internal control message protocol, echo request, and echo reply protocol. These allow IP port numbers used for probing and scanning and monitor with IDS and IPS. We also have an authorized access through the LAN-to-WAN domain. So to mitigate this, apply strict security monitoring controls for intrusion detection and prevention. Monitor for inbound IP traffic, anomalies, and malicious intent traffic. Block traffic right away if malicious.
So, one domain is a part of the 7 domain of a typical IT infrastructure. So, what is one domain? A one domain or wide area network is a network infrastructure that connects devices and networks across a large geographical area. Organization can afford faster internet and WAN connections. Today, telecommunications service providers sell the following. First, nationwide optical backbones. So, what is a nationwide optical backbones? A nationwide optical backbone is a high-speed network infrastructure designed to transfer large amount of data over long distances with minimal signal loss. So, the main purpose of a nationwide optical backbone is to support high-speed data transfer for businesses, organizations, and individuals. Second, end-to-end IP transport, is commonly used in the Internet and many enterprise networks. Third, multi-site one cloud services. IP services and connectivity offered for multi-site services such as multi-protocol level switching or MPLS one services. MPLS uses labels or tags to make virtual connections between endpoints in a WAN. Fourth, Metropolitan Ethernet LAN connectivity refers to the use of Ethernet technology to connect local area networks in a metropolitan area. This technology is used to provide high-speed data connectivity between multiple locations within a city or other densely populated area. Third, dedicated internet access is a type of internet connection that provides exclusive and guaranteed bandwidth to a single organization or user, offering higher levels of performance, security, and reliability than shared internet access. Sixth, managed services is a business model that involves outsourcing IT tasks and responsibilities to a third party service provider for better efficiency, reliability, and cost savings. And last, service level agreement is a contract between a service provider and a client that outlines the level of service to be provided and the metrics used to measure performance. It provides a framework for monitoring and managing the delivery of the service and ensures that both parties are clear about their rights and responsibilities. One domain, rules, responsibilities, and accountability. Rules and tasks. The one domain is the second most complex area to secure, allowing users the most access while making sure what goes in and out is safe. Responsibilities. Network engineers and security practitioners set security controls, and service providers provide service level agreement to ensure availability and problems are solved quickly. Last, accountability. IT network manager must maintain, update, and provide technical support for one domain security policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. Risk, threats, vulnerabilities commonly found in the one domain. So this is for internet. And last, risk, threats, vulnerabilities commonly found in the one domain for connectivity. So this is for connectivity. That's all for one domain.
And now I will discuss about remote access domain. So, what is remote access domain? The remote access domain connects remote users to the organization's IT infrastructure. Remote access is critical for staff members who work in the field or from home, for example, outside sales reps, technical support specialists, or healthcare professionals. Global access makes it easy to connect to the internet, email, and other business applications. So here's another example of remote access domain. Is when you use a computer, a smartphone, or tablet to connect to another computer or network from another location. In the database, remote access domain is the domain in which a mobile user can access the local network remotely using a virtual private network known as VPN. A VPN provides access to a private network over a public internet VPN connections. So, use tunneling protocols to reduce the risk of data being captured. A tunneling protocols encrypts the traffic sent over the network. This makes it more difficult for attackers to capture and read the data. However, vulnerabilities exist two stages of VPN connection. The first stage is authentication. Is when the user provides the credentials to prove the identity. If these credentials can be discovered, the attacker can later use them to impersonate the user. The second stage is when the data is passed between the user and the server. If the data is sent in clear, an attacker can capture and read the data. So the risks in this domain are communication circuit outage, can deny connection. Remote users may be infected with virus and not be aware of it. So when they try to connect to the internal network, the remote access, the virus can infect the entire network. Remote communication from office can be unsecured and VPN tunneling between remote computer and ingress and egress router can be hacked. So today's mobile worker depends on the following. First, highly available cell phone service. So mobile workers need a cell phone service to get in touch with office and support teams. Next, real-time access for critical communications. So use of text messaging or instant messaging IM chat on cell phones provides quick answers to short questions and does not require users to completely interrupt what they are doing. Next, access to email from a mobile device. So, integration of email with cell phones, smartphones, tablets, PDAs, or BlackBerry devices provides users the ability to quickly respond to important email messages. Next, broadband Wi-Fi internet access. So, some nationwide service providers now offer Wi-Fi broadband access cards. So, they allow wireless access in major metro areas. Next is local Wi-Fi hotspot. So, Wi-Fi hotspots are abundant, including in airports, libraries, coffee shops, and retailers. Most are free, but some require that users pay for access. Next is broadband internet access to home office. Staffers who work from home require broadband internet access. This service is usually bundled with VIP telephone and digital TV services. Next is secure remote access to a company's IT infrastructure. Remote workers require secure VPN tunnels to encrypt all IP data transmission through the public internet. This is critical if private data are being accessed remotely. So the scope of this domain is limited to remote access via the internet and IP communications. The logical configuration of the remote access domain requires IP network engineering and VPN solutions. These sections addresses individual remote access and large-scale remote access for many remote users. The remote access domain represents the sixth layer of defense for a typical IT infrastructure. Remote access domain roles, responsibilities, and accountability. Rules and tasks. The remote access domain connects mobile users to their IT systems through the public internet. The rules and tasks required within the remote access domain include managing and designing the following: cell phones, smartphones, PDAs, and BlackBerry units. Company issues devices should be loaded with up-to-date firmware, operating system, software, and patches according to defined policies. Policy should require use of passwords on this equipment. Next is laptop VPN client software. When organizations use VPN tunnels between the LAN to WAN domain and remote user laptop computers, you must select VPN software that meets your organization's specific needs and that works with your other software. Next is Secure Sockets Layer SSL or VPN web server. SSL uses 128-bit encryption between a safe HTTPS web page and a safe browser. This encrypted VPN tunnel gives end-to-end privacy for remote web page data sharing. The next, authentication server. A server that performs a second level authentication to verify users seeking remote access. Next is responsibilities. The network engineer or one group is usually in charge of the remote access domain. This includes both the hardware components and logical elements. Network engineers and security practitioners are in charge of applying security controls according to policies. These include maintaining, updating, and troubleshooting the hardware and logical remote access connection for the remote access domain. The last one is accountability. The organization's one network manager is accountable for remote access domain. Typically, the director of IT security must ensure that the remote access domain security plans, standards, methods, and guidelines are used. So here's another risk, threats, and vulnerabilities commonly found in the remote access domain. So remote access is dangerous yet necessary for mobile workers. This is true for organizations that rely on a mobile workforce such as sales reps, consultants, and support staff. As organizations cut costs, many urge staff to work from home. So remote access security controls must use the following. First, identification. So when we say identification is to identifying information such as username, a login ID, or an account number. So next is authentication. So this is the process for proving that a remote user is who the user claims to be. The most common authentication method is supplying a password. Many organizations use second-level verifying services such as a token hardware or software, biometric fingerprint reader, or a smart card. A token can be a hardware device that sends a random number or a software token that a text messages a number to the user. So, authentication is essentially important since it enables organizations to keep their networks secure by permitting only authenticated users or processes to access their protected resources, which may include computer systems, networks, database, websites, and other network-based applications or services. Next is authorization. So, the process of granting rights to use an organization's IT assets, systems, applications, and data to a specific user. So, authorization is a process by which a server determines if the client has a permission to use a resource or access a file. Authorization is usually coupled with authentication so that server has some concept who the client is that requesting access. So next is the risk, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigation plans for the remote access domain. So when we say risk, it is the harmful of your remote access domain. So when we say mitigation is the reduction of something harmful or reduction of its harmful effects. It may refer to measures taken to reduce the harmful effects of hazards that remain in potential or to manage harmful incidents that have already occurred. So first is brute force user ID and password attacks. So the mitigation is establish user ID and password policies requiring periodic changes. For example, every 30 or 60 days, password must be used. Passwords must have more than 8 characters and users must incorporate numbers and letters. For example, an attacker may attempt millions of combinations to guess a password. So it is very harmful. So this is the table of risk, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigation for remote access domains. So kindly read it and analyze. So lastly, accountability. Accountability, the process of recording user actions. The record information is often used to link users to system events.
The system or application domain. This domain represents the seventh layer of defense. This can include a range of factors such as business processes, user needs, data structures, technical requirements, and regulatory constraints. Understanding the system or application domain is important because it enables to identify and analyze the requirements, constraints, and challenges that are specific in that domain. This, in turn, helps us to design and develop software that meets the needs of the users and stakeholders in that domain. Authorized users may have access to many components in this domain. Secure access may require second-level checks. So these are the examples of applications that require second-level authentication. We have the human resources on payroll, which is only staff who work on payroll services needs access to this private data and confidential information. We also have accounting and financial, which is executive managers need access to accounting and financial data to make sound business decisions. Security financial data requires unique security controls with access limited to those who need it. We also have customer relationship management or CRM, the sales order entry, and US military intelligence and tactics. System or application domain roles and tasks. This domain is a critical component of an IT infrastructure, and it encompasses all the hardware, operating system software, applications, and data that are necessary for the organization's mission-critical operations. This domain includes the physical hardware and its logical design, as well as the software and the data that are stored and processed on it. Because the system or application domain contains an organization's mission-critical applications and intellectual property assets, it must be secured both physically and logically. Physical security measures such as access controls and surveillance camera are necessary to protect the hardware components, while logical security measures such as firewall and encryption are required to protect the applications and data from unauthorized access and modification or theft. Overall, the system or application domain is a crucial aspect of an IT infrastructure, and its security is essential for ensuring the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of critical applications and data. We limited the scope of system or application domain to reducing risks. These include the following. We have the physical access to computer rooms, data centers, and wiring closets, which set a procedure to allow staff to enter secured area. We also have the server architecture. Apply a converged server design that employs server blades and racks to combine their use and reduce costs. We also have the server operating systems and core environments, which reduce the time that operating system software is open to attack when installing software updates and patches. We also have the virtualization servers, which keep physical and logical virtual environments separate and extend layered security solutions into the cloud. The system administration of application servers, which provides ongoing server and system administration for users. The software development lifecycle or SDLC, testing and quality assurance, storage, backup and recovery procedures, data archiving and retention, the business continuity plan or the BCP, disaster recovery plan or DRP that prepare the disaster recovery plan based on the BCP. So let's proceed to the responsibilities. The Director of Systems and Applications and the Director of Software Development are responsible for managing these tasks and ensuring that they are performed effectively, efficiently, and securely. This involves overseeing the development, deployment, and maintenance of software applications and systems, including the designing and implementing security controls to protect against cyber threats and other security risks.
This domain includes the following: server systems administration, database design and management, designing access rights to systems and applications, software development, software development project management, software coding, software testing, quality assurance, and production support.
Accountability. The Director of Systems and Applications, as well as software development, play a critical role in ensuring the production systems and applications within an organization are secure and effective. This involves managing and the development, deployment, and maintenance of software applications and systems, including the design and implementation of security controls. Effective management of the system or application domain requires a coordinated effort between the directors of system and applications, software development, and IT security. This includes regular communication and collaboration to ensure that security policies and procedures are up to date and effective in mitigating the latest threats and vulnerabilities.
The system or application domain is where the organization's data are like treasure. They can be private customer data, intellectual property, or national security information. They are what attackers seek deep within an IT system. Protecting this treasure is the goal of every organization. Loss of data is the greatest threat in system or application domain. So these are the risks, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigation plan for the system or application domain. Unauthorized access to data centers, computer rooms, and wiring closets. So to mitigate this risk, apply policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines for staff and visitors to secure facilities. Downtime of servers to perform maintenance is one of the risks of system or application domain. To mitigate this risk, create a system that brings together servers, storage, and networking. The other risk, threat, or vulnerabilities are server operating system software vulnerability, insecure cloud computing virtual environments by default, susceptibility of client or server and web applications, unauthorized access to systems, data breach where private data of individuals are compromised, loss or corruption of data, loss of backup data as backup media are reused. Recovery of critical business functions, potentially too time-consuming to be useful. Downtime of IT systems for extended period after a disaster.